In a village hidden between mountains and mist, there lived a young man named Kaito. Since he was a child, he felt that something was missing, as if he had been born incomplete. He would observe the other villagers and think, "They have something I don't have." Some were strong, others wise, some charismatic or skilled with their hands. He, on the other hand, felt ordinary, like a dull stone in the middle of the river. One day, driven by this restlessness, Kaito approached the old Zen master who lived at the edge of the forest. The master spent his days in silence, tending to his moss garden and stones, as if time had no weight for him. "Master," Kaito said, bowing, "I feel an emptiness inside of me, as if I am not enough, as if something is missing, something I cannot name." The master raised his gaze and smiled, without surprise or judgment. "Then come," he said, "join me tomorrow at dawn. There is something I want to show you." That night, Kaito barely slept, his heart full of questions. The sun was just rising behind the mountains when Kaito arrived at the master's garden. The dew sparkled on the leaves, and the air smelled of pine and damp earth. The master was already waiting for him, sitting in front of a smooth, round stone, carefully placed at the center of a small circle of sand. "Observe," said the master, pointing to the stone. "This stone has been here for a long time. I didn't bring it for its shape, nor its color. It is here simply because it is." Kaito frowned. "And what does that have to do with me?" The master took a wooden rake and drew a perfect circle around the stone. Inside the circle, nothing is missing, and nothing is in excess. Every grain of sand, every fallen leaf, every silence is part of the whole. Does this stone need to be something else to be complete? Kaito fell silent, but something in his chest began to loosen, like a rope slowly unwinding. "Come again tomorrow," said the master, "and bring with you whatever you think you are missing." The next day, Kaito arrived with a small cloth sack hanging from his shoulder. Inside, he carried objects that represented what he thought was missing from his life. A rope to symbolize strength, a book for wisdom, a mirror for beauty, and a feather for talent. He placed the objects in front of the master, who silently observed them for a long time. "And now?" asked the elder. "Do you feel complete?" Kaito hesitated. At first, he thought he did, but as he looked at the objects on the ground, he realized they hadn't filled the emptiness. They were just symbols, external things that didn't change how he felt inside. "No," he whispered finally. "I still feel that something is missing. Maybe something deeper." The master nodded gently, and with the same rake from the day before, he began to erase the circle of sand he had drawn. "Sometimes, to see clearly, we must first unlearn. Tomorrow you will return, but this time without bringing anything with you. Empty." At dawn, Kaito arrived with empty hands. He carried no sack, no objects, no questions. Only his breath and a deep silence that wrapped around his chest like a warm cloak. The master was waiting for him in the same place, by the stone. Without saying a word, he motioned for Kaito to sit in front of him. For a long time, nothing happened. Only the murmur of the wind between the trees, the distant song of a bird, and the rustle of leaves slowly falling to the ground. Finally, the master spoke. "What do you feel now?" Kaito took a deep breath. He wouldn't be able to explain it in words. There was no longer any hurry or comparison. There was no need to change, no desire to be someone else. "I feel that I'm okay," he said. "I'm not missing anything. And for the first time, I don't have anything extra." The master smiled as one who recognizes a flower opening effortlessly. "Exactly," he said. "You are part of the whole. The bamboo doesn't wish to be pine. The cloud doesn't want to be the river. The emptiness you felt wasn't lack, but space. And that space is perfect too. Kaito lowered his gaze to his own hands. They were the same as always. Slender, with calluses on the palms, nothing extraordinary. But now he saw them differently. No longer as tools that had to prove something, but as a natural extension of what he was. "I've spent years trying to fill myself up," he said softly, "as if I had to accumulate qualities to be valuable. But I never thought that I was already complete from the very beginning." The master nodded. "The fish doesn't need to know about the sea to swim. You don't need to understand the whole to be a part of it. Just inhabit yourself. Be present in what you are, without resistance." Kaito closed his eyes. For the first time, he didn't wish to change anything about himself. He didn't need more strength, more intelligence, or beauty. Everything he had been searching for outside had always been within him, still waiting to be remembered. The garden, the sky, the air, his breath. Everything felt connected, as if the entire world was breathing with him. In the days that followed, Kaito continued visiting the master, but he no longer sought answers. They sat together in silence, watching how the moss grew slowly over the stones, how the wind moved the branches effortlessly. One afternoon, as the sun bathed the garden in its final light, Kaito spoke. "Sometimes I feel that this state of peace could fade, that the noise of the world, comparisons, and desires might trap me again." The master picked up a dry leaf from the ground and held it between his fingers. "The bamboo bends when the wind blows, but it does not break. True peace is not the absence of noise, but knowing that even in the midst of noise, you remain you." He then let the leaf fall, and it floated briefly before settling gently beside others. "When you forget who you are," the master continued, "return to the garden of silence. Not the one outside, but the one within you." Kaito understood that the perfect circle was not in the sand, nor in the garden, but in his own consciousness. Time passed, and Kaito was no longer the young man who once felt incomplete. Not because he had changed, but because he had finally recognized himself. He returned to the village, not as someone enlightened or as a sage, but simply as himself. He wore the same clothes, had the same hands, the same face, but with a different gaze. One that no longer sought outside what had always lived within. The villagers noticed his serenity. Some asked him what he had learned from the old master. He would simply reply, that nothing is missing, and that nothing is in excess. When someone complained about their flaws, Kaito would tell them about the circle of sand and the stone. When someone envied another, he spoke of the bamboo that doesn't wish to be pine. Little by little, without seeking it, his presence became a reminder for others. Life doesn't need to be perfected, only lived with presence. One morning, Kaito returned for the last time to the master's garden. The elder was no longer there. In his place, the wind danced between the stones, and the circle of sand had been erased by the passage of time. But Kaito did not feel sadness. He understood now that the master had never truly left. He sat in his usual spot and closed his eyes. He listened to the murmur of the wind. He felt the heartbeat of the earth. He perceived his breath as part of the rhythm of the universe. And in that moment, he knew with total certainty. There was nothing to search for, nothing to achieve. He was one with everything. He was complete, like the sky that doesn't need to be filled, like the river that flows without questioning where to, like the circle that was always perfect. You are part of the whole. Nothing is missing. Nothing is in excess.